The hot tea splashed across Grace's face. The expensive china cup shattered on the marble floor at her feet. "You clumsy fool," Mrs. Adebayo screamed. "Look what you made me do." Grace stood frozen in the dining room. Tea dripped from her chin onto her worn uniform. Her cheek throbbed with pain. She wanted to cry, but she couldn't. Not here. Not in front of them. Mrs. Adebayo's daughter, Funke, laughed from her chair. "Mama, why do you even keep this useless girl? She can't do anything right." Grace's hands shook. She had worked in this mansion for 3 years. 3 years of insults. 3 years of scrubbing floors until her knees bled. 3 years of eating leftovers while the Adebayo family threw away food. But she needed this job. Without it, she would be on the streets. She had nowhere else to go. "I'm sorry, Ma," Grace whispered. She bent down to pick up the broken pieces of the cup. "Sorry?" Mrs. Adebayo's voice was ice cold. "Sorry doesn't fix my imported tea set. That cup cost more than your entire month's salary." Grace's salary was 15,000 naira a month. Barely enough for transport and food. The Adebayo family spent more than that on one dinner. Mr. Adebayo walked into the dining room. He was a short man with a big stomach. He owned 3 factories in Lagos. Everyone called him a successful businessman. But Grace knew the truth. She had seen the papers in his office. She knew about the workers he hadn't paid in months. "What's all this noise?" Mr. Adebayo asked. "This stupid maid burned me with hot tea," Mrs. Adebayo said. She held up her hand. Grace could see a tiny red mark on her finger. "I want her out of this house today." Grace's heart stopped. Out? Where would she go? She had no family, no friends. The small room behind the kitchen was the only home she had. "Please, sir," Grace said quietly. "It was an accident. I'll pay for the cup. I'll work extra hours." Mr. Adebayo looked at her like she was dirt on his expensive shoes. "You? Pay for that cup? Do you know how much it costs?" Funka stood up from the table. She was 19 years old and beautiful. She wore designer clothes and carried a new iPhone everywhere. "Papa, just fire her. We can get a better maid. Someone who knows her place." Grace felt something break inside her chest. She had cleaned Funka's room every day, washed her clothes, served her breakfast in bed, and this was how Funky treated her. But Grace needed to stay calm. She needed this job. "I'll be more careful, Ma," Grace said to Mrs. Adebayo. "Please give me another chance." Mrs. Adebayo crossed her arms. "One more mistake and you're finished. Do you understand?" "Yes, Ma. Now, clean up this mess and get out of my sight." Grace grabbed the broken pieces quickly. A sharp edge cut her finger. Blood dripped onto the white marble floor. She didn't care. She just wanted to leave the room. As she walked toward the kitchen, she heard Funke whisper to her mother. "That girl thinks she's special. Someone needs to remind her she's just a maid." Grace pushed through the kitchen door. Her face was still wet with tea. Her finger was bleeding. Her whole body felt heavy. The cook, Mama Ngozi, looked up from the stove. She was an older woman with kind eyes. She had worked for the Adebayo family for 10 years. "Grace, what happened to your face?" Mama Ngozi asked. "Mrs. Adebayo threw tea at me." Mama Ngozi shook her head sadly. "These people have no heart. Come, let me help you clean up." Grace washed her face in the kitchen sink. The cold water felt good against her burning skin. She wrapped a cloth around her bleeding finger. "Why do you stay here?" Mama Ngozi asked. "This family treats you worse than a dog." "I have nowhere else to go, Mama Ngozi." "But you're young, you're smart, you could find work somewhere better." Grace didn't answer. How could she explain? She had tried other jobs. Nobody wanted to hire a girl with no education, no connections, no family name to protect her. 5 years ago, everything changed. 5 years ago, her father died. Before that, Grace had lived in a big house. She went to a good school. She wore nice clothes. She had everything. But when her father died, it all disappeared. The house, the money, the so-called friends. Grace was left alone with nothing. She never understood why. One day, she had a family, and the next day she had nothing. Grace pushed those memories away. Thinking about the past only made the pain worse. "I need to finish the laundry," Grace said to Mama Ngozi. "Mrs. Adebayo wants everything done before evening." That woman wants you to work like a slave, Mama Ngozi said. Be careful. My daughter, she's looking for a reason to throw you out. Grace knew Mama Ngozi was right. Mrs. Adebayo had been extra mean lately. Yesterday, she made Grace clean the same bathroom 3 times because she found one tiny spot on the mirror. Last week, she cut Grace's salary by 2,000 naira because dinner was served 5 minutes late. Grace picked up the basket of dirty clothes and walked outside to the backyard. The afternoon sun was hot. Sweat ran down her back as she scrubbed each piece of clothing by hand. The Adebayo family had a washing machine, but Mrs. Adebayo said it was too expensive to use for a maid's work. As Grace worked, she heard a car pull into the compound. It was a big black Range Rover, the kind of car only very rich people drove in Lagos. She wondered who was visiting. The Adebayo family always had rich friends coming to the house. They would sit in the air-conditioned living room, drinking expensive wine and laughing about their money. Grace kept washing clothes. Whatever was happening inside the house had nothing to do with her. She was just the maid. Nobody important. Nobody who mattered. But she was wrong. 30 minutes later, Mrs. Adebayo's voice screamed from inside the house. Grace, Grace, come inside immediately. Grace's stomach tightened. What had she done wrong now? She dried her hands quickly and ran toward the house. When she pushed open the kitchen door, she saw everyone standing in the living room. Mr. Adebayo, Mrs. Adebayo, Funke, and a man Grace had never seen before. He was tall and handsome, maybe 40 years old. He wore an expensive suit and gold watch. He looked like someone very important, someone powerful. The man was staring at Grace. His eyes were wide. His mouth was open. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Is this her? The man asked Mr. Adebayo. His voice was shaking. Yes, sir, Mr. Adebayo said. This is our maid, Grace. The man walked closer to Grace. He studied her face carefully. His eyes moved from her forehead to her chin. He was looking at her like she was a puzzle he was trying to solve. What is your full name? The man asked Grace. Grace was confused. Why did this stranger care about her name? Grace, sir. Just Grace. Your father's name. What was your father's name? Grace's heart started beating faster. Nobody ever asked about her father. She hadn't spoken his name out loud in 5 years. Why do you want to know, sir? Grace asked quietly. The man's eyes filled with tears. Please, tell me your father's name. Grace looked at the Adebayo family. They were all watching her, waiting. Chief Okonkwo, Grace whispered. My father's name was Chief Okonkwo. The man stepped back. His hand covered his mouth. A tear rolled down his cheek. It's you, he said. His voice broke. After all these years, it's really you. Mrs. Adebayo laughed nervously. Mr. Okoli, I think you're confused. This is just our maid. She's nobody special. But Mr. Okoli wasn't listening to Mrs. Adebayo. He was still staring at Grace. Do you know who I am? Mr. Okoli asked Grace. Grace shook her head. No, sir. My name is Daniel Okoli. I'm the CEO of Okoli Industries. Your father saved my life 10 years ago. The room went completely silent. Grace felt like the floor was disappearing under her feet. This man knew her father? How? Your father was the greatest man I ever met, Mr. Okoli continued. His voice was thick with emotion. When I was nobody, when I had nothing, your father gave me everything. He paid for my education. He helped me start my business. He believed in me when nobody else did. Grace's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't heard anyone speak kindly about her father in 5 years. Where have you been? Mr. Okoli asked. I've been searching for you since your father died. The house was empty. Everything was gone. I thought you had left Nigeria. I've been here, Grace said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Working. Mr. Okoli looked at her torn uniform, her rough hands, her tired face. His expression changed from sadness to anger. He turned to Mr. Adebayo. You knew who she was? Mr. Adebayo's face went pale. I didn't. Don't lie to me, Mr. Okoli's voice was thunder. Chief Okonkwo was one of the most respected men in Lagos. His daughter has been working as your maid, and you treated her like garbage? Mrs. Adebayo opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Funke looked scared. Mr. Okoli walked back to Grace. He took her rough, work-worn hands in his. Grace, daughter of Chief Okonkwo, he said formally. Your suffering ends today. Grace couldn't breathe. Her hands were shaking in Mr. Okoli's grip. Everyone in the room was staring at her. I don't understand, Grace said. Her voice was small. What do you mean my suffering ends today? Mr. Okoli let go of her hands. He turned to face the Adebayo family. His face was hard, angry. How long has she worked here? Mr. Okoli asked Mr. Adebayo. Mr. Adebayo cleared his throat. 3 years, sir. 3 years. Mr. Okoli's voice got louder. Chief Okonkwo's daughter has been your maid for 3 years, and you never thought to tell anyone? We didn't know who she was, Mrs. Adebayo said quickly. She never told us her father's name. She just said she needed work. Grace remembered that day 3 years ago. She had been so desperate, so hungry. She had knocked on many doors in Ikeja, begging for any job. The Adebayo family finally said yes. But they never asked about her family. They never cared where she came from. Is this true, Grace? Mr. Okoli asked. Did you tell them who your father was? Grace looked at the floor. No, sir. I didn't tell them. Why not? Grace felt tears burning in her eyes. Because nobody cared, sir. When my father died, everyone forgot about me. His friends, his business partners, everyone. They all disappeared. I learned that my father's name meant nothing anymore. The room went quiet. Grace could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Mr. Okoli's face softened. Your father's name means everything, Grace. It always has. But there are evil people in this world. People who took advantage when he died. What do you mean? Grace asked. Mr. Okoli walked to the sofa and sat down. He looked tired suddenly. Old. Sit down, Grace, he said gently. I need to tell you what happened 5 years ago. Grace sat on the edge of a chair. Her heart was beating so fast. The Adebayo family stood together near the dining room door. They looked nervous. Your father was my mentor, Mr. Okoli began. 10 years ago, I was just a poor graduate. No job, no money, no hope. I met your father at a business conference. He saw something in me. He paid for me to study abroad. When I came back to Nigeria, he helped me start my company. Grace remembered those days. She was young then, maybe 14 years old. She remembered her father bringing Mr. Okoli to their house for dinner. Her father had called him my star student. 5 years ago, your father got sick, Mr. Okoli continued. Kidney failure. He needed treatment. Expensive treatment. I wanted to pay for everything, but your father refused. He said he had money saved. He said he would handle it. Grace nodded. She remembered her father being sick. She remembered the hospital visits, the long nights, the worried faces of the doctors. But your father didn't tell you everything, Mr. Okoli said. He had a business partner, a man named Chief Balogun. They owned property together. Land, buildings, investments worth millions of naira. Grace sat up straight. She had heard that name before, Chief Balogun. He used to come to their house. He would laugh loudly and drink her father's whiskey. When your father got sick, Chief Balogun visited him in the hospital, Mr. Okoli said. His voice got harder. He brought papers, legal documents. He told your father to sign them. He said it was just to protect the business while your father recovered. Grace felt cold inside. What did the papers say? The papers transferred everything to Chief Balogun. Your father's share of the business, his properties, his bank accounts, everything. No, Grace whispered. My father wouldn't sign that. Your father was dying, Grace. He was weak, confused from the medication. Chief Balogun told him lies. He said the papers would protect you. He said they would make sure you got everything after your father died. Grace's hands turned into fists. But I got nothing. After my father died, men came to our house. They said we had to leave. They said the house belonged to Chief Balogun. They threw me out onto the street with only the clothes I was wearing. Mr. Okoli's eyes filled with tears again. I know. I came to your house 3 days after your father's burial. But you were already gone. The house was empty. I searched everywhere for you. I asked everyone. Nobody knew where you went. I had nowhere to go, Grace said. Tears were running down her face now. I slept in the market for 2 weeks. Then I found a small room to rent in Mushin. I did any work I could find. Washing, cleaning, carrying loads, anything to survive. Mrs. Adebayo made a small sound. Grace looked at her. Mrs. Adebayo's face was pale. She looked guilty. You knew, Grace said suddenly. I didn't, Mrs. Adebayo started. Yes, you did. Grace's voice was strong now. Angry. I remember now. 3 years ago, when I first came here asking for work, you asked my name. I said Grace Okonkwo. You looked surprised. You stared at me for a long time. Then you gave me the job. But you gave me the worst room, the lowest salary, the hardest work. Mr. Adebayo stepped forward. Grace, you're confused. She's not confused, Mr. Okoli said. He stood up. Mrs. Adebayo, did you know this girl was Chief Okonkwo's daughter? Mrs. Adebayo's mouth opened and closed. Finally, she nodded. Yes, I knew, Funke gasped. Mama, you never told us. Be quiet, Funke, Mrs. Adebayo snapped. She turned back to Mr. Okolai. Yes, I recognized her name. Chief Okonkwo and my husband did business together years ago. But when she came here, she was nobody. She had nothing. I gave her a job when nobody else would. I helped her. Helped her? Mr. Okoli's laugh was bitter. You made her your slave. You paid her 15,000 naira a month to work 16 hours a day. You and your daughter insulted her. You threw hot tea in her face this morning. You call that help? Mr. Adebayo looked shocked. Tea? What tea? Mrs. Adebayo's face turned red. That was an accident. She bumped my arm. That's a lie, Mama Ngozi said from the kitchen doorway. Everyone turned to look at her. The old cook walked into the living room. I've worked here for 10 years. I've seen everything. Mrs. Adebayo has been cruel to this girl since the day she arrived. And it got worse when she found out Grace's father used to be rich. Why? Grace asked. Why did you treat me so badly if you knew who my father was? Mrs. Adebayo lifted her chin. Because your father was a fool. He trusted the wrong people. He lost everything. You think having a big name means anything? Look at you. You're nothing now. Your father's name is worthless. The words hit Grace like a slap. But before she could respond, Mr. Okoli spoke. Chief Okonkwo's name is not worthless, he said quietly. And neither is his daughter. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. He made a call. Barrister Williams, this is Daniel Okoli. I need you to come to the Adebayo residence immediately. Yes, bring the documents. The ones about Chief Okonkwo's estate. Yes, all of them. He ended the call and looked at Grace. Your father left something for you, Grace. Something Chief Balogun couldn't steal. What? Grace asked. Your father was smart. Before he signed those papers in the hospital, he created a private trust. Only 3 people knew about it. Me, his lawyer, and his banker. The trust contains properties and investments worth over 50 million naira. It was locked until you turned 25 years old. Grace felt dizzy. 50 million naira? That was impossible. I'm only 24, Grace said. Mr. Okoli smiled. I know, but the trust also has a special clause. If you're found living in poverty or in danger, the trust can be opened early, with proof and a lawyer's approval. That's my proof, Mr. Okoli said, pointing at Grace's torn uniform and rough hands. Chief Okonkwo's daughter has been living as a maid, underpaid, mistreated. That's enough proof for any court in Nigeria. Mr. Adebayo's face went white. Mr. Okoli, please. Let's talk about this. We didn't mean any harm. We didn't mean any harm? Mr. Okoli's voice was ice. You've been exploiting this girl for 3 years. You knew exactly who she was. You knew she had nobody to protect her. So you used her. Mrs. Adebayo suddenly rushed forward. She grabbed Grace's hand. Grace, my dear daughter, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be harsh. You know I've always cared about you. You're like family to us. Grace pulled her hand away. Family? You threw tea in my face this morning. You called me useless. I was just stressed, my dear. You know how it is. Running a house is difficult. Sometimes I lose my temper. But I never meant to hurt you. Funke came forward too. Grace, please. We've been friends all this time, right? Remember when I gave you my old clothes? You threw them at me, Grace said. You said they were too cheap for you to wear anymore. The doorbell rang. Mr. Adebayo went to open it. A man in a suit walked in carrying a briefcase. He looked like a lawyer. Barrister Williams, Mr. Okoli said. Thank you for coming quickly. This is Grace Okonkwo, Chief Okonkwo's daughter. The lawyer's eyes widened. This is her? You found her? Yes. She's been here in Ikeja all along, working as a maid. Barrister Williams shook his head sadly. He opened his briefcase and pulled out several documents. Miss Grace, he said formally. My name is Barrister Williams. I was your father's lawyer for 20 years. I've been looking for you since his death. I have documents here that prove you are the sole beneficiary of your father's private trust. He spread the papers on the coffee table. Grace saw her father's signature. She saw her own name typed in bold letters. This trust contains 4 properties in Lekki, 3 commercial buildings in Victoria Island, and investment accounts worth 25 million naira. The total value is approximately 70 million naira. The room was completely silent. Even Mrs. Adebayo had stopped talking. Grace stared at the papers. 70 million naira. She couldn't imagine that much money. There's more, Barrister Williams said. Your father's business with Chief Balogun. The documents Chief Balogun used to take everything, they were illegal. Your father was too sick to understand what he was signing. We've been building a case for 5 years. We finally have enough evidence to take Chief Balogun to court. Will we win? Grace asked. Yes. Barrister Williams said confidently. Chief Balogun will have to return everything he stole. The house, the land, the money, all of it belongs to you. Grace felt like she was dreaming. This couldn't be real. Yesterday she was a maid. Today she was a millionaire? When can she access the trust? Mr. Okoli asked. Immediately. I just need her signature on these forms. And we need to move her out of this place today. Wait. Mr. Adebayo said. His voice was desperate now. Mr. Okoli, please. We can work something out. We'll pay Grace everything we owe her. We'll give her a bonus. You'll do nothing, Mr. Okoli said. Except pray that she doesn't sue you for exploitation. Mrs. Adebayo fell to her knees in front of Grace. Please, Grace. Have mercy. We have children. A reputation. If people find out we treated you this way, we'll be ruined. Grace looked down at Mrs. Adebayo. This woman who had made her life miserable for 3 years. This woman who had insulted her every day. Who had burned her with hot tea just this morning. Part of Grace wanted to forgive her, but another part remembered every insult, every cruel word, every hungry night. Stand up, Grace said quietly. You look foolish. Mrs. Adebayo stood up. Tears were running down her face. I'm not going to sue you, Grace said, but I will never forget how you treated me. You saw someone who needed help and you crushed her. That's who you really are. Grace turned to Mr. Okoli and Barrister Williams. I'm ready to sign the papers, and I want to leave this house immediately. Of course, Mr. Okoli said. You'll stay in one of your father's properties. I've been maintaining them all these years, waiting for you to come home. As Grace signed the documents, her hands were steady. She felt something new inside her chest. Not anger, not sadness, something stronger. Power. She was no longer Grace the maid. She was Grace Okonkwo, daughter of Chief Okonkwo, owner of properties worth millions. And she would make sure everyone who had forgotten her would remember. Mama Ngozi came forward and hugged Grace. I'm so happy for you, my daughter. You deserve this. Come with me, Mama Ngozi, Grace said. I'll need someone I can trust. Mama Ngozi smiled. I'll go pack my things. As Grace walked toward the door, she heard a car pull into the compound. Another expensive car. Mr. Okoli looked out the window and his face changed. That's Chief Balogun's car, he said quietly. Grace felt her blood run cold. Chief Balogun, the man who stole everything from her father, the man who threw her out of her home. The door opened. A tall man walked in. He was about 60 years old, rich-looking, confident. He smiled when he saw Mr. Adebayo. Adebayo, good to see you. I came to discuss the new. He stopped talking. His eyes landed on Grace. He stared at her face. His smile disappeared. You, he whispered. It can't be. Grace stared back at him. The man from her nightmares. The man who had destroyed her life. Hello, Chief Balogun, she said. Her voice was cold. Remember me? Chief Balogun's face went pale. He looked like he had seen a ghost. Grace Okonkwo, he said slowly. After all these years, Grace stood perfectly still. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times. In her dreams, she would scream at him, attack him, make him pay for what he did. But now that he was here, she felt calm, cold, strong. You remember my name, Grace said. That's interesting. 5 years ago, you pretended not to know me. When you threw me out of my father's house, you said I was nobody, just a girl with no claim to anything. Chief Balogun looked around the room. He saw Mr. Okoli. He saw Barrister Williams. He saw the documents on the table. His eyes narrowed. What's going on here? Chief Balogun asked. Justice, Mr. Okoli said. That's what's going on. Chief Balogun laughed, but it sounded nervous. Justice? What are you talking about, Okoli? I came here to discuss business with Adebayo. Your business can wait, Mr. Okoli said. Right now, we need to talk about what you did to Chief Okonkwo. I did nothing wrong, Chief Balogun said quickly. Everything was legal. Chief Okonkwo signed the papers himself. He gave me his share of the business willingly. That's a lie, Grace said. Her voice was strong now. My father was dying. You took advantage of him. Chief Balogun turned to look at her. His eyes were hard. Mean? Your father was a weak man, he said. He made bad decisions. He trusted the wrong people. That's not my fault. Grace felt anger rising in her chest. My father trusted you. You were his friend, his partner. He helped you build your business, and you repaid him by stealing everything. I stole nothing. Chief Balogun's voice got louder. The papers were signed. The law was followed. Everything I have is mine legally. Barrister Williams stepped forward. He held up a document. These papers show that Chief Okonkwo was heavily medicated when he signed your documents. The hospital records prove he was not mentally capable of making business decisions. That makes your contracts invalid. Chief Balogun's jaw tightened. That's nonsense. You have no proof. We have plenty of proof, Barrister Williams said. Medical records, witness statements from nurses. Even the doctor who treated Chief Okonkwo is willing to testify. You manipulated a dying man. That's fraud. You can't prove anything, Chief Balogun said. But his voice shook a little. Yes, we can, Mr. Okoli said. We've been building this case for 5 years. We have everything we need. Bank records showing how you transferred Chief Okonkwo's money into your accounts. Property documents you falsified. Witness statements from people you bribed. Chief Balogun looked trapped. His eyes moved from face to face. He was looking for a way out. Even if what you say is true, Chief Balogun said. So what? Chief Okonkwo is dead. His daughter disappeared. I've owned those properties for 5 years. The law says they're mine now. The law also says stolen property must be returned to its rightful owner, Grace said. And I'm here now. I'm not disappeared anymore. Chief Balogun stared at her. You think you can fight me? I'm one of the richest men in Lagos. I have lawyers, connections, power. You're just a girl, a maid. I'm not a maid anymore, Grace said. I'm Grace Okonkwo, daughter of Chief Okonkwo. And I'm going to take back everything you stole. This is ridiculous, Chief Balogun said. He turned to Mr. Adebayo. Adebayo, are you going to let them harass me in your house? Mr. Adebayo looked uncomfortable. Chief Balogun, perhaps we should talk about this calmly. Shut up, Chief Balogun snapped. I came here for business, and instead I find this circus. This girl thinks she can challenge me. It's laughable. It's not laughable, Mr. Okoli said. His voice was dangerous now. You committed fraud. You destroyed a family. You left a young girl homeless and alone. Those are serious crimes. Prove it in court then, Chief Balogun said. I'll bury you in legal fees. I'll drag this case out for 20 years. By the time it's finished, she'll be an old woman with nothing. Grace felt something break inside her. This man had no shame, no guilt. He didn't care that he had ruined her life. You're right, Grace said quietly. Court cases take a long time. They cost a lot of money, but I have something you don't have. What's that? Chief Balogun asked with a smirk. The truth, Grace said, and people who believe me. Mr. Okoli smiled. Grace, show him the other documents. Barrister Williams pulled out another folder. He handed it to Grace. She opened it and looked at the papers inside. Her eyes widened. What is this? Grace asked. Your father kept records, Barrister Williams explained. Every conversation with Chief Balogun, every business deal, every promise that was broken. He recorded everything in his diary. We found it in his safety deposit box last year. Grace pulled out photocopies of handwritten pages, her father's handwriting. She recognized it immediately. Tears filled her eyes as she read his words. April 2019. Balogun came to the hospital today. He brought papers. He said I need to sign them to protect Grace's future, but something feels wrong. His eyes were cold. I'm too tired to think clearly. The medicine makes everything foggy. But I love my daughter. I must protect her. Grace's voice broke as she read the next entry out loud. April 2019. I signed the papers. Balogun promised Grace would get everything after I die. He swore on his mother's grave. But I don't trust him anymore. I asked Williams to create a secret trust for Grace. Balogun doesn't know about it. If something happens to me, if Balogun betrays us, Grace will still have something. She will survive. The room was silent. Even Chief Balogun had stopped talking. Grace looked up from the diary. Tears were running down her face. My father knew. He knew you would betray him. And he still tried to protect me. Chief Balogun's face was hard. That diary proves nothing. It's just an old man's confused thoughts. It proves motive, Barrister Williams said. It proves that Chief Okonkwo didn't trust you. It proves he signed under pressure. Combined with the medical records and witness statements, we have a strong case. You're bluffing, Chief Balogun said. You want money. That's what this is really about. How much? How much will it take to make this go away? You think you can buy your way out of this? Mr. Okoli asked. You think money fixes everything? Money fixes most things, Chief Balogun said. He pulled out his checkbook. I'll write a check right now. 2 million naira for the girl. 5 million. 10 million. Just drop this nonsense. Grace felt sick. He was trying to buy her silence, just like he bought everything else. I don't want your money, Grace said. I want what belongs to me. My father's house, his land, his investments, everything you stole. That's worth over 100 million naira, Chief Balogun said. You'll never see that money. I'll fight you until my last breath. Then fight, Grace said. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Chief Balogun's face turned red. You should be afraid. Do you know what I can do to you? I can make your life hell. I can make sure you never work in Lagos again. I can destroy your reputation. I can. Enough, Mr. Okoli shouted. Your threats don't work anymore, Balogun. Times have changed. You can't bully people the way you used to. Watch me, Chief Balogun said. He pointed at Grace. This girl is nobody. She has no power, no connections. I'll crush her like an insect. She has me, Mr. Okoli said. And I have resources you can't imagine. Okoli Industries has revenue of over 5 billion naira per year. I can hire the best lawyers in Nigeria. I can drag your name through every newspaper in this country. I can make sure everyone knows what you did. Chief Balogun's face went pale again. You wouldn't dare. Try me, Mr. Okoli said. Mrs. Adebayo suddenly spoke up. Chief Balogun, maybe you should just return what belongs to the girl. Why cause more trouble? Chief Balogun spun around to face her. You stay out of this. This is none of your business. Actually, it is her business, Barrister Williams said. Mrs. Adebayo knew Grace's identity. She exploited Grace for 3 years. She could face charges too. Mrs. Adebayo gasped. What? No, I didn't do anything illegal. You knowingly underpaid the daughter of a deceased wealthy man. Barrister Williams said. You took advantage of her vulnerable state. That's exploitation. It's a criminal offense. Mr. Adebayo grabbed his wife's arm. We need to leave. Now. Nobody's leaving, Mr. Okoli said. He stood in front of the door. We're going to settle this today. Chief Balogun laughed bitterly. Settle this? How? You want me to just hand over 100 million naira worth of property? You're insane. I want you to do what's right, Grace said. For once in your life, do the right thing. The right thing? Chief Balogun's voice was mocking. Let me tell you about the right thing. Your father was a fool. He gave money to everyone. He helped people who didn't deserve help. He trusted everyone. That's why he died poor and sick. I learned from his mistakes. I took what I could. I protected myself. That's the right thing in this world. No, Grace said. That's the coward's way. My father helped people because he was good. You betrayed him because you're evil. Chief Balogun's hand moved fast. He grabbed Grace's arm hard. You don't talk to me like that, you little. Mr. Okoli pulled Chief Balogun away from Grace. Don't touch her. The two men stood face to face. Chief Balogun was breathing hard. His eyes were full of rage. This isn't over, Chief Balogun said. I'll see you in court. And I'll win. I always win. He turned and walked toward the door. But before he could leave, Barrister Williams spoke. Chief Balogun, there's one more thing you should know. Chief Balogun stopped. What? We're not just filing a civil case, we're filing criminal charges. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse. If we win, you won't just lose the property, you'll go to prison. Chief Balogun's face went white. You can't do that. We can, Barrister Williams said. And we will. How long? Chief Balogun asked. His voice was quiet now. Scared. 10 to 15 years, Barrister Williams said. Maybe more, depending on what the judge decides. Grace watched Chief Balogun's face change. The confidence was gone. The arrogance was gone. For the first time, he looked old, tired, afraid. You don't want to do this, Chief Balogun said. Let's make a deal. I'll return 50% of everything. We split it. Everyone wins. No deals, Grace said. I want everything, and I want you to face justice for what you did to my father. Chief Balogun looked around the room. Nobody was on his side. Even the Adebayo family looked uncomfortable. Fine, Chief Balogun said. His voice was cold. Have it your way. But remember this moment. When you're sitting in a courtroom for the next 5 years, when you're spending millions on lawyer fees, when your face is in every newspaper, being called a liar and a gold digger, remember that I offered you a way out. He walked out the door and slammed it behind him. The room was quiet. Grace's legs felt weak. She sat down on the sofa. Did I do the right thing? Grace asked. Should I have taken his deal? No, Mr. Okoli said firmly. You did exactly the right thing. Your father would be proud. But he's right, Grace said. The court case will take years. It will be expensive, difficult. Let me worry about that, Mr. Okoli said. You just focus on rebuilding your life. Barrister Williams started packing up his documents. We'll file the papers tomorrow morning. The police will be involved. This will move fast. Grace nodded. She felt exhausted. Everything had happened so quickly. This morning she was a maid. Now she was fighting one of the richest men in Lagos. Mama Ngozi came back into the room carrying 2 small bags. I'm ready to go, Grace. Grace stood up. She looked around the Adebayo house one last time. 3 years of her life had been spent in this place. 3 years of pain and suffering. Goodbye, Grace said to the Adebayo family. She didn't say anything else. They didn't deserve more words. As Grace walked toward the door, Funke suddenly called out, Grace, wait! Grace turned around. Funke was crying. I'm sorry, Funke said. I'm really sorry for how I treated you. I was wrong. Grace looked at Funke for a long moment. Then she nodded. Thank you for saying that. She walked out into the evening air. Mr. Okoli's car was waiting. Grace got in the back seat. Mama Ngozi sat beside her. As the car drove away from the Adebayo house, Grace looked out the window. The sun was setting over Lagos. The sky was orange and red. Where are we going? Grace asked. Home. Mr. Okoli said from the front seat. To your father's house in Lekki, the one I've been maintaining for you. Grace felt tears on her face again. Home. She was going home. But as they drove through the Lagos traffic, Grace's phone buzzed. It was a text message from an unknown number. You made a big mistake today. Chief Balogun doesn't lose. Watch your back. Grace's blood ran cold. She showed the message to Mr. Okoli. His face got serious. It's starting. Balogun is going to fight dirty. What do I do? Grace asked. Mr. Okoli looked at her in the rearview mirror. You fight back. And you don't give up. No matter what happens. Grace looked at the threatening message again. Her hands were shaking. The war had just begun. Grace couldn't sleep that night. She was lying in a big bed in her father's house, the house she hadn't seen in 5 years. Everything looked the same. The furniture, the paintings on the walls, even her father's favorite chair in the living room. But her father wasn't there. Grace got up and walked to the window. The house was in Lekki, near the beach. She could hear the ocean waves in the distance. The moon was bright in the sky. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from the unknown number. Tomorrow you'll regret everything. Drop the case or suffer. Grace's hands shook. She wanted to throw the phone away, but she knew that wouldn't solve anything. There was a knock on her bedroom door. Grace? Are you awake? It was Mr. Okoli's voice. Yes, sir. Come in. Mr. Okoli walked in. He looked worried. Did you get another message? Grace nodded and showed him the phone. Mr. Okoli's jaw tightened. I've hired security guards. They're outside the house right now. Chief Balogun won't be able to hurt you. I'm not afraid of being hurt, Grace said. I'm afraid of losing. What if he wins? What if the court believes him? Mr. Okoli sat down in a chair near the window. Grace, I need to tell you something about your father. Grace sat on the edge of the bed. What is it? Your father and I had a conversation 2 weeks before he died. He knew he didn't have much time left. He told me that if anything happened to him, I should find you, protect you, help you get justice. Tears filled Grace's eyes. He knew Chief Balogun would betray him? Yes. Your father was smarter than people thought. He saw the evil in Balogun's eyes. But he was too weak to fight. So he made plans. The trust fund. The diary. The secret documents. Everything was designed to protect you. But I still lost everything, Grace said. I still ended up on the streets. That wasn't supposed to happen, Mr. Okoli said. His voice was full of regret. I should have found you faster. I searched everywhere, but you disappeared. I failed your father. I failed you. You didn't fail, Grace said. You found me eventually. And now we have a chance to make things right. Mr. Okoli smiled. Your father would be proud of the woman you've become. You're strong, brave, just like him. Grace wiped her tears. When is the court hearing? Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Barrister Williams filed an emergency motion. The judge agreed to hear the case quickly because of the criminal charges. What if I have to testify? Grace asked. What if I have to stand in front of Chief Balogun and tell everyone what happened? Then you tell the truth, Mr. Okoli said. That's all you need to do. The truth is more powerful than any lie. The next morning, Grace woke up early. She took a long shower. She put on new clothes that Mr. Okoli had bought for her. A simple dress, clean shoes. She looked at herself in the mirror. She didn't look like a maid anymore. Mama Ngozi made breakfast, eggs and bread and tea, but Grace couldn't eat. Her stomach was full of butterflies. You need to eat something, Mama Ngozi said gently. You need strength for today. Grace forced herself to eat a few bites. Then the car arrived. Mr. Okoli, Grace, Mama Ngozi, and Barrister Williams drove to the courthouse in Victoria Island. The courthouse was big and imposing. Gray concrete walls, tall windows, people in suits walking in and out. As Grace walked toward the entrance, she saw reporters, cameras, microphones. Miss Grace, they shouted. Is it true you're suing Chief Balogun? What do you want to say to him? Mr. Okoli's security guards formed a wall around Grace. They pushed through the crowd. Grace kept her head down. Her heart was racing. Inside the courthouse, it was quieter, cooler. Barrister Williams led them to a courtroom on the second floor. Chief Balogun was already there. He sat at a table with 3 expensive-looking lawyers. He wore a designer suit, gold rings on his fingers. He looked confident. When he saw Grace, he smiled. It was a cold smile. Mean. Grace sat down at the other table with Barrister Williams. Mr. Okoli sat behind them in the public gallery. The judge walked in. Everyone stood up. The judge was a woman, maybe 50 years old. She had gray hair and sharp eyes. "Court is in session," the judge said. "Case number 45729. Grace Okonkwo versus Chief Balogun. Criminal fraud and civil property claims." Grace's heart was pounding so loud she thought everyone could hear it. The judge looked at the papers in front of her. "This is a serious case. Chief Balogun, you're accused of defrauding a dying man and stealing property worth over 100 million naira. How do you plead?" Chief Balogun stood up. "Not guilty, Your Honor. These accusations are lies, slander. This girl is trying to steal what I worked hard to build." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Sit down, Chief Balogun. We'll hear the evidence first." Barrister Williams stood up. "Your Honor, we have substantial proof of fraud. Medical records, witness statements, and Chief Okonkwo's diary, which documents everything." He presented the documents to the judge. She read them carefully. The courtroom was silent. Grace could hear her own breathing. After 10 minutes, the judge looked up. "These are serious allegations. Chief Balogun's lawyer, do you have a response?" One of Chief Balogun's lawyers stood up. He was tall and spoke with a British accent. "Your Honor, these documents prove nothing. Chief Okonkwo signed legal papers. Those papers have been validated for 5 years. My client has done nothing wrong." "What about the medical records?" the judge asked. "They show Chief Okonkwo was heavily medicated, not mentally capable of making decisions." "That's speculation," the lawyer said. "We have our own medical expert who says Chief Okonkwo was perfectly capable." The judge frowned. "Let's hear from witnesses then. Barrister Williams, call your first witness." "I call Dr. Ademola, the doctor who treated Chief Okonkwo at Lagos University Teaching Hospital." An older man walked into the courtroom. He wore glasses and a serious expression. He was sworn in and sat in the witness box. "Dr. Ademola," Barrister Williams said, "you treated Chief Okonkwo in April 2019. Can you describe his mental state?" "Chief Okonkwo was very ill, Dr. Ademola said. "Kidney failure, liver problems. We had him on strong pain medication, morphine, sedatives. These drugs can cause confusion, memory problems, inability to make rational decisions." "Was he capable of signing important business documents?" "Absolutely not. I specifically told his family that he should not make any legal decisions while on those medications." Chief Balogun's lawyer stood up. "Objection! This doctor is being paid to say this." "I'm being paid to tell the truth," Dr. Ademola said angrily. "I took an oath. I watched a good man die while someone took advantage of him. I will not stay quiet about it." The judge nodded. "Objection overruled. Continue, Dr. Ademola." Dr. Ademola looked at Chief Balogun. "You came to the hospital 3 times in 1 week. Each time you brought papers. Each time you pressured Chief Okonkwo to sign. I heard you. I saw you. You're a thief." The courtroom erupted. People started talking. The judge banged her gavel. "Order! Order in this court!" Chief Balogun's face was red. He whispered something to his lawyer. Barrister Williams smiled. "No further questions, Your Honor." The judge looked at Chief Balogun's lawyer. "Do you want to cross-examine?" The lawyer stood up, but he looked nervous now. "Dr. Ademola, isn't it true that you were fired from the hospital 6 months after Chief Okonkwo's death?" "Yes, Doctor," Ademola said. "I was fired because I kept asking questions about Chief Balogun's visits. The hospital administration didn't want trouble, but that doesn't change what I saw." The lawyer sat down. He had nothing else to say. "Next witness," the judge said. Barrister Williams called a nurse, then a hospital administrator, then the banker who helped set up the secret trust fund. Each one told the same story. Chief Balogun had manipulated a dying man. Finally, the judge looked at Grace. Miss Okonkwo, would you like to testify? Grace's mouth went dry. She looked at Mr. Okoli. He nodded encouragingly. Grace stood up. Her legs were shaking. She walked to the witness box and was sworn in. Miss Okonkwo, the judge said gently, tell me what happened when your father died. Grace took a deep breath. Your Honor, my father was everything to me. He was kind, generous. He helped people. When he got sick, I stayed by his side every day. I watched him get weaker and weaker. Her voice broke. She wiped her eyes. 3 days before he died, Chief Balogun came to visit. He brought papers. He told my father to sign them. My father was so weak he could barely hold the pen. But Chief Balogun kept insisting. He said it was to protect me. And after your father died? The judge asked. Men came to our house. They said it belonged to Chief Balogun now. They threw me out. I had nowhere to go. I was 19 years old and suddenly I was homeless. I slept in the market. I begged for food. I did anything to survive. Grace looked at Chief Balogun. This man destroyed my life. He stole from a dying man. He left his daughter on the streets, and he felt nothing. No guilt. No shame. Chief Balogun stood up. That's a lie. Sit down, the judge shouted. You'll have your turn to speak. Chief Balogun sat down, but his face was full of rage. The judge looked at Grace with kind eyes. Thank you, Miss Okonkwo. That must have been difficult to share. Grace went back to her seat. Her whole body was trembling. Chief Balogun's lawyer called his witnesses. They tried to defend him. They said the papers were legal. They said Chief Okonkwo knew what he was signing. But the judge didn't look convinced. Finally, Chief Balogun himself took the stand. He swore to tell the truth. Chief Balogun, the judge said, did you take advantage of your dying friend? No, Your Honor. Chief Okonkwo wanted to transfer the business to me. He trusted me. He knew I would take care of everything. Then why didn't you take care of his daughter? The judge asked sharply. Chief Balogun hesitated. I tried to find her, but she disappeared. That's a lie, the judge said. She held up a document. This is a statement from the security guards at Chief Okonkwo's house. They say you ordered them to throw Grace out. You told them she had no right to be there. Chief Balogun's face went pale. Those guards are lying. 3 different guards have given the same statement, the judge said. They all say you were cruel to this girl. You called her names. You laughed when she cried. The courtroom was dead silent. The judge put down the papers. I've heard enough. This court finds Chief Balogun guilty of fraud, elder abuse, and theft. All property taken from Chief Okonkwo's estate will be returned to Miss Grace Okonkwo immediately. Grace couldn't breathe. She had won. She had actually won. Furthermore, the judge continued, Chief Balogun is sentenced to 8 years in prison. He will also pay damages of 20 million naira to Miss Okonkwo for pain and suffering. Chief Balogun jumped up. No, this is wrong. I have rights. I'll appeal. You can appeal all you want, the judge said coldly. But you'll do it from prison. Bailiff, take him away. 2 police officers grabbed Chief Balogun's arms. He fought against them. This isn't over. You hear me? This isn't over. But it was over. The police dragged him out of the courtroom. His expensive lawyers couldn't save him. Grace sat in her chair, stunned. Tears were rolling down her face. Mr. Okoli was hugging her. Mama Ngozi was crying with joy. You did it, Mr. Okoli said. You got justice for your father. Grace couldn't speak. She just nodded. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed them again. But this time, Grace didn't hide. She stood tall. She faced the cameras. Miss Grace, how do you feel about the verdict? A reporter asked. I feel like my father can finally rest in peace, Grace said. Her voice was steady now, strong. Chief Balogun stole from him. He stole from me. But today, justice was served. What will you do now? Another reporter asked. Grace thought about it. I'm going to rebuild. My father believed in helping people. He believed in giving chances to those who had nothing. I'm going to honor his memory by doing the same. 3 months later, Grace stood in front of a new building. The sign above the door read, Chief Okonkwo Foundation, helping young people build their future. Inside were classrooms, computers, books, everything a young person needed to learn and grow. Grace had used some of her money to create this foundation. It gave scholarships to poor students, job training to unemployed youth, hope to people who had none. Mr. Okoli stood beside her. "Your father would be so proud." "I hope so," Grace said. She thought about everything that had happened. The pain, the suffering, the years of being treated like nothing, but also the strength she found, the courage to fight back, the determination to win. Grace was no longer the scared girl who slept in markets. She was no longer the maid who accepted insults. She was Grace Okonkwo, daughter of Chief Okonkwo, owner of properties, creator of opportunities, fighter for justice. And she was just getting started. Mama Ngozi walked up with a young girl. The girl looked nervous. Her clothes were torn. Her shoes had holes. "Grace," Mama Ngozi said, "this girl needs help. She has nowhere to go. Her family kicked her out." Grace looked at the girl. She saw herself 5 years ago, desperate, alone, hopeless. Grace smiled and took the girl's hand. "What's your name?" "Blessing," the girl whispered. "Well, Blessing," Grace said warmly, "you're not alone anymore. We're going to help you. We're going to give you a chance to build a better life." Blessing's eyes filled with tears. Thank you so much." Grace hugged her. "Never forget where you came from. And when you succeed, help someone else who needs it. That's how we change the world." As the sun set over Lagos, Grace looked at the foundation building. Her father's dream lived on, not through revenge, not through bitterness, but through love, through helping others, through giving hope. Chief Balogun was in prison. The Adebayo family had lost their reputation. Everyone who had hurt Grace had faced consequences. But Grace didn't feel happy about their suffering. She felt free, free from anger, free from pain, free from the past. She was finally home. Not in a building, not in a house, but in herself, in her purpose, in her father's legacy. Grace Okonkwo had survived, and now she would help others survive too. The humble maid had become a queen, not through crown or title, but through courage, justice, and grace. Her story was just beginning. The end of part 1. Comment part 2 below.